for English language learners. A teacher activity is not a student learning strategy, although a teacher can model a learning strategy. Strategies for learning are the strategies a student uses to become a better learner. Every time a teacher thinks out loud for her students, she's demonstrating a learning strategy. For example, I just made a connection to what I already know about dogs. They can sniff out drugs and people's luggage at the airport. I didn't know that they can sniff out whether a person has COVID virus. This tells me how powerful a dog's nose is. In this example, the teacher is showing her students how to make connections to previous knowledge. In other words, when the teacher summarizes, it's a teaching strategy. When the student summarizes, it's a learning strategy. Effective teachers integrate strategy instruction with content area instruction. The learning strategies need to be modeled all through the lesson. Teachers can make predictions or ask their students to make predictions in science class, for example. English language learners can benefit from using learning strategies. However, all learners benefit from using learning strategies, and they need to be explicitly taught. What are the categories of learning strategies that teachers should teach? There are three main categories: cognitive strategies, metacognitive strategies, and social affective strategies. So, what does a cognitive learning strategy look like? This is a strategy used when you're working with information. For example, it's when you summarize information or make connections of new learning with previous learning, or when you classify information. Here's an example of each. Goldilocks invaded the three bears' house. That's summarizing information. Some bears, poo, are cute. Some are dangerous. That's making connections. Bears hibernate. So do turtles and skunks. That's an example of classifying information. What is metacognition? Metacognition is often simply described as thinking about thinking. More effectively defined, it is the ability to monitor your thinking, knowing what you know and how to proceed. It's also reflecting on how you're doing and any need for corrective measures as you are working. Of the three categories of learning strategies, metacognitive strategies are most important for self-assessment. Metacognitive theory was proposed in 1979 by John Flabel, so it's quite a recent understanding of how learning works. What are some of the metacognitive strategies? Metacognitive strategies include when you recall prior knowledge, ask yourself questions, decide how to start something, think out loud as you're doing the steps in planning, visualize the steps to complete a task. Anyone who has put together a flat-pack piece of furniture from IKEA is well aware of metacognition, especially when you realize you missed a step. What are social affective learning strategies? The social strategies involve collaborating with others to understand content and developing language skills in the process. Effective strategies are the positive self-talk that you use to encourage and congratulate yourself as you learn. It's even taking a breath to calm yourself. Social affective learning strategies are beneficial for EL learners, especially if the student is working in a pair or group with an English speaker. One of the most important social skills is to be able to have confidence to ask for help and know how to ask for help. As you see, the affective aspect is very important too. This is positive self-talk that we use, like, I did this before, I can do it again even better. Sometimes the encouragement comes from the teacher and even better from peers. You know, the teacher can teach students to give each other positive messages like, you can do it, or well done, as part of your classroom environment. What's more, I said there were three kinds of learning strategies for students to know. However, recent research of culturally linguistically diverse, or CLD, learners show that our ELL students can employ cross-linguistic strategies as well. What are cross-linguistic learning strategies? When we recognize the skills an EL student has learned in their first language, we can encourage the student to use it in English. If the student has learned to read in their first language, the similar reading skills can be used to construct meaning in their target language. For example, also, recognizing word cognates can help comprehension. In Spanish, última means last, and it's similar to the word ultimate in English, which means the last one. So this is a really good cross-linguistic learning strategy when they can recognize cognates. The teacher can encourage the student to look for context clues in reading or speech, just as they would in their native language. They can make connections, make prediction, or summarize, or infer, for example, if they've learned it before. For week 7 and 8, we'll be focusing on student learning strategies rather than teaching strategies. Our goal is to help ELL learners self-assess and to direct their own learning. Let's end with this quote. A teacher is one who makes himself or herself progressively unnecessary.